What I'd like to address is just give a quick overview of where Huawei is now, where we are, with specific focus where we are in Europe and what we're doing in terms of R&D. And then we'll move on to my specific area of responsibility is smart cities. And we see this as a very important way of engaging with the citizen and what areas we are focused on. Particularly on what we call ultra broadband and the provision of broadband everywhere to citizens. And finally, I'll look at a specific project we're doing in Amsterdam with the city of Amsterdam. And I'll address maybe perhaps some of the topics of cyber security at that stage. The big initiative we launched at the recent Mobile World Congress is called Open Roads. And this sums up pretty much our strategy in terms of technology development for the next years. Open, so it'll be open platform. It'll be transparent. It will be open to partners. We really need partners to develop the key parts of smart city and vertical industries. And ROADS is an acronym for real-time, online, always available, do it yourself, so the citizen, the user, can do it themselves, configure their own services, and social. So just a few comments on where Huawei is currently at the moment. In 2014, we achieved sales of 46 billion, which was growth for the year-on-year about 18%. And we have three main divisions within the company. One is focused on infrastructure, which is for telecommunications operators. That's the largest division. And the other one is for devices, smart devices like these. So we manufactured about 75 million smart devices last year. And the third one, which is more recent development, is in enterprise. And that's the business unit I'm involved in. And it's mainly about cloud computing, data, and so on and so forth. It can be summarized as the pipe, which is the telecommunications infrastructure, the device for smart devices, and the cloud. And we do put a lot of effort into research and development. Over the path from 2004 to 2014, total R&D spend was nearly 30 billion, right? Over 76,000 employees are engaged in R&D centers. That's quite a large proportion of the total employees. You know, it's just over half of our total employees of 150,000. We have evenly spread the R&D centers throughout Europe. So all of the major, my particular area is Western Europe, so we would have major centers in Germany, in Munich, in Düsseldorf, in Bonn, in Italy for microwave transmission, in the south of France for silicon. We recently opened one in Paris, which is for the aesthetics of design of smartphones. UK, we do design of smartphones. I suppose we have big data with Imperial College London. We have 5G research with the University of Sussex. In Spain, for example, it's more focused on apps or SDN, software-defined networks. And in Ireland, we have three small R&D centres. One is based in Cork, and that's around CEM, Customer Experience Management, which is basically BSS and OSS. In Dublin, it's more in the future of the telco operating system. It's the Open Roads project. It's about building open platforms. And in Athlone, we have a small R&D center involved in radio networks. The big focus, I think in the next 5 years, there'll be a lot of developments in telecommunications. A big focus will be the migration from the current 4G networks to 4.5G and then to 5G networks. And I'll talk a little bit more about those later. So how do we see the industry growing? If you look forward about 10 years to 2025, we are experiencing a period of exponential growth in terms of numbers of subscribers or the amount of content each subscriber is using. The number of people will reach 4 billion who are using smartphones, but more importantly will be the migration to the Internet of Things and connecting devices like smart bands for healthcare or for fitness, connection of cars, the autonomous car. And for connecting a car, you do need a different type of network. You need a high or low latency, very low latency network, which will be supported by the future networks which we are rolling out. The Internet of Things, of course, will be involved in the smart grid in pretty much most of the vertical industries: smart home, smart energy use, and so on and so forth. And we expect the content used per user will increase exponentially also. This is driven by a number of factors. One of them is we're going from, let's say, normal definition TV to high definition TV. We're currently using what's called 4K definition TV, which is very high definition, which requires a lot of bandwidth. And at Mobile World Congress, we demonstrated 8K and even up to 16K, which is, we demonstrated a connection between Barcelona and China, which pretty much shows immersive telepresence, that you feel like you are in the place. We had a live concert broadcast, and so that has been successful. So this will drive the amount of bandwidth which will be used per person. Another example, for example, one of my hobbies is genomics, and we know that the human genome, the life cycle of the human genome is about 1 terabyte of data. That's fine if you have a handful of people testing, but when you get to 1,000, to 1 million, to 10 million, to 100 million, that creates a large requirement for extra data. And what are the driving forces we see? On the enterprise side, one of the key driving forces is the adoption, again, in fact, it's the smart devices which is driving the requirement for bigger and better networks and for faster networks and for increased storage. More and more employees will bring their device to work, and it's called BYOD, bring your own device. And what they have expected in their personal cloud computing experience using social networks or online systems or the facility of use of devices, they will expect the same facility of use in the enterprise. And this will drive the next wave of innovation in the enterprise. Also, enterprises will adopt more and more social networks. An example of this is, say, Salesforce.com, which is replacing, I suppose, more traditional ERP systems, and which is facilitating communication within enterprises. And the amount of data created will go from terabits to exabytes to zettabytes. And more and more CIOs, one of the big transitions is the transition of legacy IT or legacy ICT to more of a cloud-based ICT environment. And we find from all of the surveys that more and more CIOs of companies will be embracing the cloud. The consumers were the first to embrace it. The smaller enterprises are the second, the larger enterprise third, and finally, the big governments and multinational users will eventually adopt it. Wireless communications is evolving. I suppose two of our focus areas will be in wireless and wireline. On the wireless side, we have Wi-Fi technologies, which are in the 2.4 gigahertz range, and then up to 5 gigahertz range, we can get bandwidth up to 1.3 gigabits, which is fairly high. In the public network domains, the major development will be going from 4G today. The typical device will have about 100 megabit access. Next year, we launch 4.5G, which will provide 1 gigabit to 5 gigabit access to a device and very low latency, the order of 20 milliseconds. And then the big preparation is for 5 years hence, which will be the launch of 5G, which will be 10 gigabit access to the device and extremely low latency, which will enable applications such as the autonomous car and so on and so forth. Because if you're going to do braking, you really want to be able to respond in millisecond timeframes. And some of the other areas of development are in emergency response area for smart cities. It is strange today that the emergency response responders are using fairly old technology, which is Tetra, which is narrowband technology, which doesn't have images, doesn't have video. And as the rest of the consumers are migrating to very, very fast connections and very fast devices, the emergency responders are being left behind. So we're putting some effort into developing the next generation, which is called ELTE, and which will follow basically the roadmap of 4G to 4.5G to 5G. And a large, as I mentioned, development is the Internet of Things. So we're going from connecting 4 billion people to connecting 30 billion things. And this will require new networks. It require very high density of cells. And again, this will drive a requirement for a new type of telecommunications infrastructure. And one example of this is an innovative solution. It's called a smart lamppost. It may have an LED screen on it. It will have small cell technology embedded in it. And small cell technology will include 4G communications, 4.5G, 5G, and also Wi-Fi. And because you will need denser networks and all of the sites are not available, this will be a logical place to position the cell sites of the future. This particular innovation won the Best of Show award at the recent Mobile World Congress. And another part is the development of the cloud environment, again with the difference in video communication, going from normal definition to high definition to 4K to 8K to 16K. It requires a lot more storage, a lot more bandwidth, a lot more infrastructure to be able to do it. Transport, smart transportation, we expect to find broadband on our trains. So we provide solutions for broadband on the bus, broadband on the train, broadband along the railway line. So again, it's getting to this ubiquitous broadband which is available to the citizens. We had a chat over, we were discussing the tragic events in France, the air crash, and someone mentioned, well, why isn't the black box transmitted automatically by broadband? And really it should be, because the solutions are there to provide broadband along flight paths, inside planes, so we shouldn't have to search for a black box to find the solution. And finally, this is an example of a concrete project we're doing in Amsterdam at the moment. We really liked the concept of providing Wi-Fi or high-density Wi-Fi, high-density LTE to stadiums, and we're providing that to about 10 very large stadiums in Europe. One of them is Amsterdam Arena. We provide the infrastructure. Then with partners, for example, SAP, they provide their SAP HANA platform, which is a big data analytics platform. They do very innovative match replay technology. We do high definition video and match replay. And on top of that, we're using it as a platform to develop applications for the city of Amsterdam. And it will be what we call a living lab, open innovation platform. So partners are invited to come in, try out their solution for the smart city of the future. And hopefully we'll roll that out to other cities in Amsterdam. We've signed an additional 3 MOU to do that, and eventually to other cities around Europe. So I'm getting the signal. So I'll probably conclude there, and thank you indeed for your attention.